All right. Well, hello to our. Oh, geez, I can hear myself. Hold on. Ah, geez, obnoxious. I have a voice for print and a face for radio, so here we go. Well, hello everyone. Today is going to be a good one. We're going to be diving into some code and some conversation, and who knows what. But we'll stick around just for a couple minutes. We'll chat for a minute, and then we'll get going as we let whoever wants to join us join in the next couple of minutes. So good morning for those who have good morning, and good evening for those in Europe, and good what are you doing up so early or late for the rest of the world. Uh, Toss Llama, you got your pinball machine working, great. I haven't personally gone down the what I hear can be a fun time of getting pinball machine working myself. More of a console gamer for me. Where is everyone at this morning? I'm in the States, Illinois, just outside Chicago, and it is a muggy, ugly day right now for us. All right, just another minute or so, and then we'll get going. Hello, Basman. It's probably going to be a tighter community today. I don't know if it's because of me or because of the topic of development or because of the time of day, but appreciate those who can make it, and hopefully those who want to see it can see it after the fact. On our Twitch channel will be the VODs will be available for however long Twitch lets us keep them there. I think it's about a week. All right, let's get this going. Well, as you all know, this week is the LaunchBox celebration, and and we've had a good week so far. We kicked things off on Sunday when the deals and everything kind of went live. And then just on Monday, Andy on our team, Astro Bob, gave us a nice little noob welcome into LaunchBox. And then he advanced it with another stream on Tuesday talking about a little bit more advanced stuff. And I guess I'm just going to continue the train and go a little bit deeper and talk about some code and how we can, as developers, get some custom whatever integrated and tapped by using its plugin architecture. But I am available as needed if anyone has any questions about just development in general, or development as a team as we write code for the tools. If anybody has any thoughts there, happy to oblige. All right. A little bit more about the celebration. There is a huge giveaway happening right now. And one of the reasons you might be here is to get a secret code, which I'll be sharing a bit later, that will allow you an entry into the giveaway to win one of these great prizes, an ROG Ally X. Lovely device, a Shield Pro, a neat little Android box that you can hook up to your TV. Ode 2, love this thing. I have one on my desk, and it's fantastic. And a mini PC from Ioneo, some game keys, and of course some keys for LaunchBox itself. Hello, Mpush, Kelowna. I don't know where that's at, but glad to have you. Other things going on this week while we're here. Let me just scroll down a little bit. We have day 3 of our great game gauntlet. Just come on to our website. Links are everywhere for the celebration page, and come into here. And there's some fun activities in our community that you can participate in. The gauntlet round 3, the ever-going top picks for community party games, and sorry, that's this one, and best games of all time. So hope to see your activity over there. We're really doing all of this week, all of these giveaways, all of these streams, all of these things for you, the community, and we happy to have you. But today it's going to be a little bit different because we're going to be talking about code. And I can start with this page right here. This page is using an experimental technology for us, at least. For those who have dived into LaunchBox itself, we know that it's a .NET-based application written mostly in .NET Core 6 with some plans to probably push that to .NET 8 soon. Soon in air quotes. This application is using Blazor, which is Microsoft's sort of foray into sort of modern web development, alternative to the React community's Next.js and the Views community Next. So Blazor is kind of a server client technology that uses WebAssembly and some neat things. And this page is written entirely in Blazor. And I think it came out well. But for today, I am going to open up some code. A code editor. I'm going to be doing pretty much everything in Visual Studio Code just to make so you can see kind of all the bits. Normally, I might use something like Visual Studio to do these sorts of things, but because .NET Core 6, or I guess 3 and up, is all open source and easy to use, we can kind of code anywhere. Let me get my notes up on a different screen so that I don't lose track of what I'm doing. All right, so we are going to build a plugin. Build a plugin today. And I'll talk a little bit about what that plugin is after that, hoping to just give a little bit of a brain dump on how plugins work and what you can do with them. And then we'll get into the code. We're going to build stuff, make it work, hopefully before the end of the stream today. It won't be perfect, it won't be pretty, but it will hopefully work. And hello to you, Flight Danger. All right, after we build stuff, I guess that's it. Maybe we'll share the code depending on how long this takes, somewhere around there. All right, the plugin today, I think is going to be easier to demonstrate what it should do by showing what it doesn't do right now. And I'm going to open up a very, very thin copy of LaunchBox. So that I have my 4 games here. It's my entire collection, just to kind of demonstrate what we're hoping for. What language used to code a plugin? Basman, I'll be talking about it just in a second. When we talk a little bit about the brain dump on plugins, I'll dive into that. But long story short, .NET, C#. You could probably do it in F# or VB if you really wanted to, but .NET. All right, so I have a few games in here, and one of them stands out as this one because it is a CD-based game, and I should have turned off videos. It's a CD-based game, but the rest of these are cartridges. And as we all know from our younger years, our yesteryears, sometimes these cartridges didn't always work. And the world, I don't know where we learned this terrible piece of advice from, the world taught us that sometimes you have to blow into the microphone to get it to work. Exactly, jokers. You gotta blow on it, right? Actual terrible advice. Apparently the humidity from your mouth would destroy the circuitry inside of that cartridge, but we all did it, or at least I did it. And I don't think I ever knowingly lost a game, but some of those are probably a little corroded by now. But in the world of emulation, things just kind of work, right? If your ROM's good, if your emulator is set up good, if LaunchBox is set up good, it just works. And so I thought, why not make it so that we sometimes have to blow on it? And so today, we're going to hopefully create a plugin that's going to integrate into the launch process of a game so that when I come in here and click play, wherever it went, oh my gosh, it's unavailable. Oh, whatever. We'll figure that out in a second. So whenever you play a game, it's going to sometimes require you to blow into your microphone to make it work. It doesn't do it now, but that's what we're going to be doing. So that's the goal for today. Thanks. It's ultimately Farron's idea. I don't know if it was a joke when he said, hey, why don't we do this? But I loved it. I thought it was fun. Our original idea for the day was ultimately to do some like bug fixing, right? There's with any software, there's always lots and lots of bugs. Yes, you're gonna have to blow them. It's an optional thing, Focus said, but But anyways, we're going to fix some bugs, but I didn't think that was particularly celebratory. I don't know if we can celebrate a bug fix, but the bug itself. And when Farron gave me that idea, like, I think we could probably do that. It shouldn't be that hard to listen on the mic, and it shouldn't be that hard to make it fun. And Richard Python probably, if your mic is sensitive enough, it would probably work even with today's plugin. All right, so that is what we're building today. Beyond that, plugins can do a number of different things in LaunchBox, and it's honestly one of the areas of the community involvement that I personally find particularly interesting. As you all know, in the forums, people are sharing all sorts of things, theme packs and media packs and plugins, and there's a lot of really, really cool things out there. Every time one gets posted, I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. I wish I had thought of that, or I wish LaunchBox itself already did that, but that's a really cool idea. And I think it's because of this extensibility that LaunchBox has that makes it one of the more interesting front ends out there, just because it kind of can do anything. And .NET as the base programming language is a really good language for those who say, no, you should do it in C++, or you should do it in all these other technologies. .NET has come a long, long way since that advice was given to you, and it's really quite good. And hopefully today we can kind of show that not only can you do just regular coding, but you can also get low level if you need to, like I'm going to have to listen to this. Python, why not Python? We're a .NET shop, honestly. I'll introduce myself in a second. Thank you, Rob. So we're a .NET shop, and 11 years ago now, Jason, our founder OG, he was a .NET developer, and he wrote LaunchBox in his tool of choice, which was .NET. And he made LaunchBox, and over the last 11 years, it's grown into what it is today. My official thought on what language you should use is the one that you're going to be the most productive in. And so if you want to use Python, you could do some things with it, and I'm going to show a little bit about how that might work today, honestly. But largely it's because we're a very productive shop writing .NET, and so why change that if we don't have to? And the Microsoft team has done a really good job at making sure that we don't have to. .NET is really fast. It's cross-platform. It hits all of the things that we need it to be, and it's a joy to code in still. Python. The last time I tried, it's largely like with the AI stuff. I know that all the AI engines now are all favoring Python because it's a pretty quick interpretive language that they can digest pretty quickly. So I know it enough to interact with those things, but it doesn't bring me joy. And as Maria Kondo told me once, I should get rid of the things that don't bring me joy. All right, enough about all this. Okay, so I got my code editor. So brain dump on plugins. So I got a little distracted there. In LaunchBox, and I'm going to open a folder here on the computer that has our working copy of LaunchBox that we're going to be using today, the one that I just showed you. There is a plugins folder. In here, you're going to see by default, as soon as you install, I think it was LaunchBox 14 or 15, when we introduced the new plugin manager, you're going to see some plugins in here. But if you've been using LaunchBox for years and have downloaded some of those plugins from the community, you'll have probably put some things in here. And so each of these is a different plugin, and I'll talk about what these are once I get LaunchBox back up. But they just let LaunchBox sort of say, hey, plugin, can you do some work for me? And all of those community plugins also do the same thing. They just say, hey, LaunchBox, can you do a little bit of work for me? Oh, thanks. I'm on the side. Forgot to introduce myself. All right, for those who's watching who don't know who I am, which is probably all of you, I'm Josh. I have been also known as MysterNybble with two Y's because I like puns and I like computers, and a nibble is half of a byte for those who don't know. And so I am Mr. Half a Byte, as you might say. And pretty much all of my computers and devices and things in my life I've named after sort of bit related humor. So this computer is it's called Light Byte. It's the first computer that I got that has those RGB unicorn puke lights in it. Mostly turned off now because it's kind of obnoxious. But I really like computer humor with respect to bits and bytes. But again, I'm Josh, and I have known Jason since before LaunchBox was a thing. Nice to meet you as well. He used to work for me. So in another life, I ran a consulting company writing boring .NET code for businesses, and Jason worked for me. And 11 years ago, he was sort of spending his nights and weekends working on LaunchBox. And he shared it with me because we were just younger nerds at the time and really enjoyed just all things about development. And so I was just around for the LaunchBox ride since the very, very beginning. And over the last 11 years, I have just been a voice of reason for Jason as he was thinking about changing things, or just a sounding board as he was thinking about new ideas. And so I've just been around. More recently, just earlier this year, I decided to change directions with what I wanted to focus on in my professional career, and LaunchBox, Unbroken Software, seemed like a really interesting place, and Jason was accommodating and allowed me in. So I invested in the company so that I could kind of just be involved and help with decision making and do the sorts of things that I really like to do, which is on the business side of things, thinking about roadmaps and directions and strategy, and how do we turn LaunchBox, this community that we have, into not just a really solid piece of software and not just a really incredible community with all of you and everyone else, but also a successful business. And so I split my time between business focused things and coding. I was born a developer, been coding since, I don't know if it was the Texas Instrument Calculator, the TI, or the Commodore 64, but one of those two devices were both my first gaming device and the first opportunity that I had to code. The day that I realized that I should be a coder was on the Commodore. We had a copy of Monopoly on the Commodore, and low dollar, comma 8, comma 1 sort of thing. And yeah, BASIC is a lovely language. I really do miss it. And on this BASIC written game on the Commodore, I was playing by myself because my siblings kind of suck and didn't want to play because I was the young one. And I realized, like, hey, when I pass Go, it's giving me $200 US, so it's worth a lot of money for you Canadians. And I'm like, well, can I turn that into more money? And so I started searching through the code, and I didn't know what the heck I was looking at. It could have been Greek to me. And I just searched through and found in the code all the places where the number 200 was. And I changed them until it worked. And I was like, that's the coolest thing I think I've ever done. I was probably like 7. I was really, really young at the time. And I cheated in Monopoly as my very first coding exercise. And then I took it one step further, but like, well, I want to make it so only I get $200, not the computer, and the rest kind of is history with respect to me being a developer first, and all of the rest of what I do kind of second. Hardware hacking. I'm a softie. I like software. I like things that are predictable. Hardware is just too unpredictable for me. It can work if it's too staticky in the air. It doesn't work on a humid day. There's just so many weird variables with hardware that I've always been a software guy. And so I've been coding my whole life. I never really learned math in the 7th grade, but I wrote code to do my math for me, that sort of stuff. All right, so yeah, like I said, I'm a coder first, and today that's what I'm going to be focusing on is coding. All right, so we have my editor. We're going to be doing these things. Plugins, back to this. Got a little distracted, thanks for that. We have the built-in ones and then the community built ones. The only difference between the two is how they're approached, but behind the scenes, they're a lot different. We built these plugins for purposes of allowing us to do over-the-air updates of core pieces of LaunchBox. For 11 years, you had to wait on a release or a beta or some kind of big production to get bug fixes in LaunchBox. For example, recently, Dolphin, the emulator, decided to completely change how it approached updating its versions, right? It went from a sensible number version number to just number. And that broke some internal code for LaunchBox, which we wanted to fix. And because inside of this Dolphin plugin is the code that we use to know when an emulator should be updated, or know what sort of platforms an emulator supports, we were able to push a fix into LaunchBox just in the middle of a release cycle. And so now, instead of only having 8 or so releases in a year, whatever the number happens to be in a given year, we can be a little bit more or a lot more responsive to those sorts of plugins. And so expect this folder to get busier and busier and busier. And it's not that we're adding a whole bunch of new code, but we're effectively moving code and cleaning it up as we go into these plugins. Community plugins are sort of side-loaded. All LaunchBox copies are jailbroken, so you can do whatever you want to them. You can sideload those. If you look inside one of these folders, I'm just going to pick on Dolphin since I was talking about it before, these over-the-air updatable sort of modern idea of what a plugin is, they have some code, in this case some .NET assemblies, and a file, which I think if I open this up, it's not particularly exciting. It's just a JSON file that kind of tells LaunchBox about this. This data came from one of our servers, so that when we go into the plugin manager, which I'll load up in a second so you can see it, knows what version it is, which operating system, hint hint for those who ask questions about operating systems, it supports, and a few other things that the system kind of uses. So can LB run Doom? I think everything can run Doom. I don't know if anybody's created that plugin. It feels like that's a rite of passage for all hardware stuff, as you are a hardware hacker. I did, for funsies, get Doom to run on a friend, or helped a friend get Doom to run on their refrigerator once. That was a lot of fun. It was just a Samsung thing, and yeah, I think that'd be a really fun plugin to add Doom into LaunchBox, and it probably could. Maybe as like just a thing you have to do, and maybe you have to like beat it in order to proceed or something, who knows. Anyways, these data files are used by LaunchBox. All of the other plugins, the ones that have been around for a while, don't have that file because there is no automatic updating. But we would really like to go toward allowing even the community created plugins to get posted on that system, so that if Joe Viking's latest foray into how to beat scores needs a bug fix because their website changed or was broken or who knows what, he'd be able to do that, and you as a user would just see a little pop-up that says, hey, Joe Viking's stuff got updated, go update it, and you'd be able to do it. Bazman, 100% agree. We're really trying to speed up what we can do while still making it a really solid piece of software. And hello, first timer, offliner. You are online though, so I'm curious the name. Where are the plugins published in the forum? I think I closed that browser, so let me get back into there. In the forum, so forums.launchbox, if you scroll towards the bottom here, in the middle section here, there are these two sub-forums, third-party applications and plugins for presumably good final, they work, tested, people like them or using them, sort of releases. And then just if you're playing around with some new ideas, there's some interesting things in here as well. But we'll just pop in here and see what pops up. MAME no lag updated. I like the standard MAME just because I like to keep my life simple. I'm one of those users that doesn't really want to tinker with LaunchBox. I know a lot of you really like to post and spend a lot of your time curating your collections and all of that. I largely use the front end for the purpose of launching games. That's the name, LaunchBox. And so I just want things to work. And so I just do what's easy. But there's a whole bunch of really great things in here that are worth playing around. And I just mentioned this one earlier. You just download them, and there's always instructions on how to install them, and guarantee you have to dump something in here. Yes, a portal for plugins. It is in process. I would say that our plugin work right now with the new over-the-air update system is, like in final stages of us being comfortable with it. We've been a little bit holding it to the chest with respect to talking about it, just because we wanted to make sure that the ability to do the updates worked, and so we could get the little wrinkles ironed out before we said, hey, everybody, let's start doing it this way. But yeah, there is a website somewhere. I don't know if we've made it public yet, where you can submit plugins. But the documentation, plugins, templates for projects, all of that stuff is in process and coming. And yes, it definitely takes time. That's one of the hardest pieces of working at LaunchBox, and really any company, is the number of things you want to do, the number of things you have time to do, and the number of things you are able to do. That Venn diagram doesn't always align the way that you would like, but that one is definitely on the list. Right. Let's go into LaunchBox so we can see the new plugin manager. I've been playing with, I don't have a Stream Deck, but I've been playing with one. I put one on my phone so that I could, they have a mobile app, and so I have a button for LaunchBox, which loads up my LaunchBox and my big box, and it's so much fun. I like that kind of tinkering. All right, so I have a very, very thin collection here. I just selected these items, but for today, in the tools menu, recently in the last couple of updates, we tried to tidy up just a little bit. There was manage this, manage that, all over the place. All of the managed stuff is now under here. And emulators, platform storefronts, plugins, right? This is what we're talking about today. These only look at the plugins that are in that over-the-air system that I was talking about. And if I go in here, you'll see we have the 7 sort of standard stock plugins. The ones that are emulator specific, so most of these are not the emulators, right? We probably could do a better job naming these things, but the point of these plugins is to help LaunchBox work with that emulator. And so it's more of a LaunchBox MAME integration plugin than anything. Because when I already have this LaunchBox all set up, so we didn't have to fight it today, but when I imported Mighty Bomb Jack here and I hit play, LaunchBox tells you, like, hey, you want RetroArch for this. The fact that it can do that prompt is because of that plugin. And then when you say, yeah, please set it up for me, the fact that it can set it up for you is because of that plugin. And when I go back into the plugin manager, probably since 10 minutes ago, PCSX is already updated. When the emulator gets updated, the fact that it can do that, sorry, that's on the emulator screen. This little status over here, and I messed up my MAME earlier as I was playing with this build. There aren't any main games in here, so let's just get rid of that. This little check mark is because of that plugin. And so it's not that we're tinkering with the plugin itself, or sorry, the emulator itself. We are just sort of interacting with it, allowing you to do updates, allowing you to see that there are updates, allowing you to install it automatically, to know which emulator, which platforms it supports, so on and so forth. All right, enough about plugins. If you have any more questions about plugins specifically, by all means, there is, for the original plugin models, there is a documentation site. I don't know if I have it memorized. Yeah, I have it here actually. That kind of has, it's a little dated. I don't think it's got updated in the last few versions, but it's pretty close. It's good enough, which has sort of entry points for the original plugin models of places that you can plug in. And the one we're building today is definitely one of these. And yeah, extension is probably a better word. I think the idea of plugin might just be a scary word for some people. Some systems call them add-ons, extensions, plugins, modules. There's unfortunately a lot of different terms in this industry. We went with plugins because we're nerds and it made sense to us at the time. But yeah, we are thinking about the confusion that's coming along with those, because people are really, really worried. Be like, oh, I don't want to update the Dolphin plugin because my Dolphin works. I'm like, well, but that's great. We're happy that your Dolphin works. But our ability to help keep it working is the part that we want to update. So these are the OG plugin types. There are some ways of interacting with that. We're going to be doing this one. Like I said, we want it so that when you try to launch a game, sometimes you have to blow into your microphone to make it work. After that, we have the ability to interact with some menuing, like when I right-click on a game or when I go to the tools menu. There's some menu-related plugins in here. So this thing, plugin API.LaunchBox app, is where I would go to kind of see about those. The new plugin types, the emulator ones, and then the one that I didn't mention, the Discovery Center one, those are not in here. Again, we've been kind of hiding a little bit about those just because we were kind of making sure that they work. But if we go back in here, there's the games DB discovery list. For those who use Big Box, you know that one of the best features of the Big Box is the Discovery Center and its ability to make suggestions, sort of Netflix style of games in the 80s, worst games, best games. And that's all based on data from your specific collection. We wanted to allow a way for plugin developers, including ourselves, to have maybe smarter or differently focused sort of suggested categories, or playlists as we call them. And so this one allows us, through our famed GamesDB, to curate collections of games from here. And then if you happen to own games in that playlist, then they show up in your Discovery Center. It is unlikely that any of these 4 games that I selected are in one of those, so I can't demo that right now. But it's there, and you don't have it because I'm running a beta. This is new. You could go get the beta and see it, but it's largely sort of behind the scenes in the 13.16 release is when that is going to be coming. But thanks for the question, Toss Llama. All right, enough about plugins. Let's make one. Back to our checklist. So I think we've done some stuff. Let's build some stuff. So our goal, what are we gonna make? We're gonna make a plugin that allows us to sort of listen on game launching. And so this is where the actual plugin is gonna be. It's gonna be super, super simple, just because LaunchBox makes this really, really easy. Yeah, Bugs Bunny is a great game. I loaded it up earlier and just nostalgia loaded over me because I'd forgotten all about the game. We're going to listen on game launching so that we can inject some code to sometimes not work, right? We want to cause it to not work. It's a fun thing to do as a developer, to make things break and require you to blow. And for those who are just tuning in, I am talking about into a microphone to make it work. Make it work. And because we need some visual cue, we want to show something. And I'm going to go really low level for these two things because I want to try out some new libraries that I've been playing with. For those in the gaming programming industry, or even in just emulators and stuff, you're probably familiar with a tech called SDL. I honestly don't know what it stands for. Something. Simple Direct Media Layer. I guess it's a good enough acronym for that. So we're going to be using this to listen on the mic. And honestly, I'm going to have it show something. As we talked about before, this is a .NET-based application, and it's using Microsoft's WPF, Windows Presentation Framework, as the UI engine. And it's an amazing engine, right? It lets us do all of these things. It lets us do all of the things that you can see in Big Box. The support for the themes is all because of the lovely work that WPF gives us. But in this case, I'm going to use SDL for a couple of reasons. One is it could be fun. I've never really done it too much, so you're going to see me kind of fumble around a bit today. But also, we're going to... it's cross-platform. WPF unfortunately doesn't run on certain operating systems that Linus Torvalds might like, and I want to see if I can make this blow thing. I need a good name for the plugin, so those in the chat, give me a name for what this plugin might be called, so I can call it that, because I don't think blow thing would be a really good choice, but maybe. Anyways, I'm going to use SDL for both of these things. And the rest of it's just going to be .NET. Blowmaster. That sounds like something a dude at your door would sell you, like those vacuum salesmen from when I was younger. Nobody's tried to sell me a vacuum in a very long time. All right, well, if we don't get another vote, it might just be Blowmaster. All right, but let's get into some code. All right, like I said, I'm going to be doing this in here. And there's 2 bits that I'm going to make. I'm going to make the plugin, and then I'm going to make the thing. And I'm going to build them as 2 separate pieces because I don't want to try to inject SDL into LaunchBox. I want to just do it separately. So it's going to be a separate executable that gets loaded. But we'll start with both. So I'm going to open up a terminal here, and we're going to go into my streaming. There's nothing in here, right? No folders. But we want to open up VS Code here. Oh, I installed a new code editor to play around with, and it took over the code shortcut. So I'm just gonna open that folder from here. It's Cursor for those interested. It integrates with Claude, the AI engine, and it's really, really good. But I want to do this in Visual Studio, and I might use Copilot just to help with some of the low-level stuff. But we're going to use this to create a couple of new projects. So .NET new project. In your Visual Studio, if you install a few of these .NET Microsoft extensions, the .NET experience is pretty decent. It could be better, but it's pretty decent, and I think I closed it before I finished. Okay, so we are going to create 2 projects. One of them is going to be a class library. This is going to be the plugin. And what do we got? We got Blowmaster 2000, yeah, the quick cart, blow to run, blow, huff and puff, puff and play. That's a good one. Bluster buster. I don't know how I'm going to pick. So I'm just going to close my eyes and just open it. And the first one I saw was Huff and Puff. Huff and Puff. And it's going to go here, which is great. And we need to change our .NET framework. So like I said before, LaunchBox and Big Box are both using .NET 6. We do have plans of updating. It just hasn't hit priority amongst everything else. And so for the plugin, I need it to be .NET 6 so that LaunchBox can read it. And it's going to create a nice little folder over here in my streaming thing. And I want to do this twice because I also want to create a just an executable. So I'm going to go with a console app and huff in puff.exe. We'll call it that. And the folder's great. We can use .NET 8 here. This is going to be running sort of standalone, and so it should work just fine. So I'm going to keep that. We're going to go. So now I have two projects. Just for convenience, I'm going to rename this one to Huff and Puff as well. But let's start with the plugin. This plugin is set up as just a normal class library for .NET 6. There are a couple of things that we need to do to this, and I have some reference examples on the other side just so I don't mess it up. I have too many things open. Because there's a couple of things you want to do into this project that allow it to build correctly, and I'll talk through those as we go through it. Plugin. All right. So by default, it's like this. Because we will need it to work inside of LaunchBox, which is a Windows-based application, I'm going to tell .NET, please use the Windows. Or at least, can I zoom? Yes. Let's do this. How big? Maybe around there. We'll see if I can work with that. The defaults on all this is great, and we're going to, that's it. I am going to copy in a couple of things, which I'll talk through just from another plugin that I was working on before. So these two things. So .NET has, we're referencing the official plugins DLL. This DLL is in your LaunchBox folder. I don't know if my environmental variable there is correct, so I'm just going to say launchbox.celebrate here just so that it gets the right one. And it's very important that we set up this to be not a specific version so that your plugin doesn't just fail completely as we update our stuff. So as this plugin's DLL gets updated, your thing should, for the most part, keep working between versions. And this last one is just a convenience for me. We're going to take the outputted DLL from this project and copy it, and I already have this set up, into the plugins folder. So let's go get that set up. Puff in Puff. So now we have a place for that to go. And we have a class library. And so this is going to be our plugin. Like I said before, if we use that API documentation, we're going to have this, we're going to call this Huff and Puff plugin, I guess. And we're going to be using from the Unbroken. It doesn't seem to be finding that library. So let's give it a quick build and open up a terminal. Let's just see if we can get .NET to see our project here. Okay. So we'll figure out. It might just be a bad path in that thing. LaunchBox. Oh, it's starting to see stuff. Plugins. And I don't remember. Let's see why this isn't working. Should be correct. Maybe it just needs to reload. That took me to this folder, which has that file in it. We shall proceed, and hopefully it catches up. It might just be a caching thing. And this was iGame launching something? Plugin. Autocomplete. Thank you. And if I build that, it should fail because I can't type. Oh, I forgot my colon here. Broken can't be found. It doesn't like this reference. Oh, I didn't save it. Huh. First rule of coding, make sure you save your files. Okay, so now we're getting actual errors because we haven't implemented anything, and just because this is going to bother me, because I'm a bit of a pedant when it comes to my code, we'll name this correctly. I'm going to use this lovely little pop-up. So weird when it's big, but we're going to implement the missing interfaces so we can talk about those real quick. So this particular plugin has 3 sort of hooks into .NET. We can do something after the game is launched. So this would be like after RetroArch is loaded, we want to do something. We can do something before, which sounds really interesting for us. And after the game has, or really the emulator has been closed out. We don't really want this to err, but we don't really want to do anything. So we're just gonna throw a nice little comment in there so we know that that's our goal. And then we'll move this away from us so we don't have to think about it again. And we're gonna do all of our stuff here. No sauce, you got a premium license for your brother, or he got you convinced him or he bought it. Either way, Discovery Center is an amazing feature. I think that was also Farron's idea. So not only can he come up with clever plugin ideas, but he also, I think, largely thought up and invented the concept of the Discovery Center. So thanks to him for that. But glad he's finding it. And this isn't a sales pitch, but gift licenses are also as part of the discount right now. So if you do have any other brothers, for any of you, by all means, it's a good time to do it. So what are we going to do in here? Our goal is to, based on the game, maybe see if we can get if it's a cartridge-based game or if just the Nintendo, we want to do something. LaunchBox is passing in some data with respect to what's happening, right? This game is being launched. It's probably this game. And some games have, additional application stuff in here. I don't think we have to worry about that for our purposes here. And the emulator that is going to be used. I am going to just do a quick little if game platform, and I'll just go and say, hey, Nintendo's. This was the one that I always remember having to blow into. So I want to say if the platform is Nintendo Entertainment System, it's going to auto suggest how to configure my thing. Thanks, Copilot, but we don't need you. We want to make them blow here, and otherwise do nothing, and just let it proceed. And so if we don't do anything here, the game will just keep proceeding. And we'll figure this part out later, but ultimately what we're going to do is launch huffandpuff.exe, which will take over and wait for Huff and Puff to exit. And that's it. It's going to be really simple. Technically, there's no other way to start LaunchBox into a game automatically but to write a plugin for that, right? So there is a plugin already that has some auto start from a web server or from a command line. It has some things that I think people are using for like remote launching. I don't. We might be able to find that link for you. But yes, right now, LaunchBox itself does not have any command line interfaces or convenient ways of launching a game outside of clicking the buttons inside of LaunchBox. That is also on our sort of cleanup list ideas because I have a friend of mine sent me this, which is a NFC card reader. And we're trying to get it so that you can use NFC cards to launch games. So that if you had like a neat little NFC chip, which are like 2 cents, you can buy 1 million of them for nothing. You could put the name of a game on it, and you would just tap it on the thing. We're hoping to build something like that, probably as a plugin, but we'll see. So there is some work being done there as kind of a hobby project. But we'll come back to this. This is the goal of what we're doing with the plugin. This project is going to be a lot more work. It's set up as a normal console application. We actually want it to be a Windows executable so that we don't get the little command line black screen popping up. And we are also going to have to allow unsafe code because SDL requires a little bit of bit manipulation. And I think that is all. Let me just check my notes over here for that. Yeah, I think that'll be good. And we will also do something similar to auto place the DLL or the exe somewhere, but we'll get back to that. Other terminal, so we can have two of them. Hopefully we can do a side by side and have, do I have them both? All right, so we can go into Huff and Puff for you and go into Huff and Puff.exe for you. I'm gonna set up a watch to just auto build that one, which isn't working. Oh, because it's a class library, but I think I can tell it to watch and just build it. Yes, I can. And I'm gonna tell this one over here. So this is just so every time I make a code change, I don't have to do anything. And this one I'm gonna actually have it launch. But we haven't done anything in there yet, which we'll get. So far, so good. Yeah, the NFC cards, I'm really excited about that as an idea. A lot of people have just like walls and walls of actual games, but they also have all of those games on their computer. And the original idea was, wouldn't it be cool just to like pull one off the shelf and do something, which tells LaunchBox to open it up. Yeah, we could see about how that might work with game saves and stuff. I know that Andy yesterday went through the new, also in the beta, game save stuff they're working on, which is also a beginning point for some additional work. It's an early project that we're hoping to continue to improve. Now, because I made this Windows executable, again, I have a cheat sheet over there on the screen with some stuff. This will allow it to be executable. It's not going to do anything because there's nothing in there. And this is where we're going to start using some SDL stuff. So we're going to use SDL to draw the window. Use SDL to draw a window. Use SDL to listen on mic. And that's it. So SDL is a C-based library, and .NET does allow you to get C-based libraries into your collection because it's shipped as just a DLL, and .NET allows us to get even C-based DLLs and things. And so I'm going to take these files and honestly just put them into my bin folder over here, if it lets me. We'll just put it in there manually so that we have access to it. And then we're also going to find this on GitHub. I found this earlier. Why is the platform property a string instead of a enum? In the class project. So everything in here is a string. This is an enum behind the scene of output type. You can only put certain things in there, otherwise it doesn't work. The framework and all these things really are just strings that get passed to the .NET build, just like it's like a CMake file for you C programmers and the Python interpreters. You can pass things to the compilers and interpreters. We're going to use this, and we're going to steal this guy. But if we look at it, got to make sure we can look at it. Free for any purpose, including commercials. Perfect. So it is a wrapper around a bunch of low-level .NET code that allows us to interact with that DLL. I largely don't have to care too much about what's in here, but it allows for us to use .NET, which is a managed programming environment, and dump it into there. So the only platform in CS file. Okay, that's because our users are not all the same. I personally really like my platform to be called Nintendo Entertainment System, but because LaunchBox is so flexible, we can't assume that we know what the platform is called for you, or there might be platforms that we don't inherently support, but it still works, right? There could be a thing that doesn't really exist. Maybe it's a hacked thing that's a Nintendo Entertainment System platform that's an actual thing out there. We don't know about it yet, but we don't want all of LaunchBox to fail because of that. I'm just going to steal this whole thing. And that will allow our .NET project to have access to the SDL libraries. Probably a nicer wrapper around it. Unsaved code. I thought I added that, but I probably forgot to save it again. Oh, it's source. It's just visual code hasn't updated yet, so we'll close it. Save. Now we got all these lovely warnings. I think we can tell Visual Studio to just ignore those. What do we got? BS8625, which is cannot convert null literal to null reference type. I think, does this work? Finding watch items. Oh, we have an error. Oh, I think we have to remember this. Oh, I didn't close the property group. XML for the win. Get rid of that one, and we're also going to get rid of CS, just so we have a nice clean output down here. I normally would do this a little differently, but I just want to have this nice and clean so that as we make changes, we can see them. All right. So I'm curious how well Copilot is. Use SDL to draw a window. You can't assist with that. Of course you can. Well, SDL is old school. It's not auto-managed, and so it gives us, I'm just going to use that up here using SDL2. We have to tell it what we want. And so we're going to SDL underscore. So there's audio, and then I think there's video or Windows or something. I have some documentation open over here just for my reference. Init video. That was close. And we're ultimately going to want init audio as well. And then at the end of everything, we're going to unload it, which I think is clean up, close. What's the documentation say? The documentation is actually pretty good online. Quit. Oops. I'm still getting all these errors. It does not exist in the current context. Using SDL2. Yep. Oh, it's just STL. Sometimes that Copilot autocomplete thing is just totally in the way. Everything's prefixed. Like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of SDL coding myself. It's been a long time since I've done it, but this should work without failing. I do have some cheat sheets over here for some of these things. For example, creating a window is create window. So in Windows coding, geez, I might need to turn Copilot up. Create window. Take your auto suggested stuff here and give it a go. So it's going to do that, and I think that's all we have to do, but like everything else, we also have to clean up after ourselves so we don't cause any memory leaks or anything. Not that this particular application is particularly important that we get correct. But so that's gonna just open and close real quick, so it can't really have a memory leak. Some chat. So Lucas said something like a random game launcher, but with some filters. Yeah, I know that Big Box has a random filter or random game launcher just sort of built in, but I don't usually use it. Don't really get a lot of time these days for coding or for gaming. Okay, so I think this is working. We probably will want some way to just wait for the system to not close on us so that we can see what we're making here. Honestly, don't know what this is going to do, but probably nothing. It may open on the other screen, actually. All right, well, we'll deal with that. So Windows is an event-based system, and we will be needing to create a message pump so that we can watch the thing, or so that we can listen for things like the mic and keyboard presses and so on and so forth. Now that we have the window, we can possibly add some of that. So we're going to quit equals false while should quit, and this will be our entire loop. And SDL has a way to tie into the windowing system. And because it's cross-platform, the same windowing system would work with like GTK or anything on Linux, and I think even I forgot the name of the UI engine for Mac, but it should work there, and I can't spell. And it opened, but it opened on the wrong screen, and it has completely locked my computer because I didn't put a message handler in there. So let me kill that. And we need to listen for this event before I hit save, since I have it auto building. We're gonna listen for maybe an escape key or something, just so that we can get out more easily. And it looks like it automatically added that for us, which means that's it. Okay, so it did open this. So we have a thing. It doesn't do much, but we have something. Yay! I'm excited. It's always great to have a way to see things, but I think I need to fix real quick it to open up on this monitor, which is my secondary monitor. I know LaunchBox Big Box sometimes has some trouble remembering which monitors are which, and MAME certainly does too. I don't want our Huff and Puff tool to have the same sort of thing, so we need to figure out how to get this loaded up on the correct window. That's not gonna work. There's no way that's a thing. Maybe it is. Oh, but that's the window of where it launched. I don't want that window. I want the window of where it's at. So I know the SEL has a way to get this, which will tell me how many monitors there are. Number of monitors. And how are we doing time? We're already at an hour. I think we're doing okay. With the timing, I don't think this will take that long to fight through, but now we have a number of monitors, so we could go through each of those and do something with that knowledge. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure it out. So we need to figure out how to SDL get monitor of current mouse position. Get mouse state. All right, let's look into that. What do you do? You. Well, thanks for the subscribe. I'll admit, this is my very first stream. Like, I did a test one, but it didn't really count. It's my very first time doing this sort of thing with nobody actually sitting there or on a Zoom call. And so Twitch is kind of new to me. I'm not a much of a Twitch watcher either. And so the last month or two or so on and so forth, I've had to learn a lot about what this world is like. They have a whole new set of emojis that I gotta learn, which just showing my age, I don't really have a lot of experience with that, and so it's been fun. And I'll admit that the gamification of Twitch has really sort of drawn me in, and I kind of want to do this more and more. But it takes a lot of time. Would, for those in the chat, would there be interest at all in doing these sorts of developer deep dives? They probably would be a little bit more in the application than this silly celebration coding where we're doing bug fixes or creating new functionality or reading through error logs and those sorts of things. But if that would be interest at all, I think it is something we could probably do on somewhat of a schedule. I don't know about weekly, but maybe once in a while, once every couple of weeks or something. And yeah, happy 11 years. It's been crazy to see how far we've gotten. So now we have this. We need to get to the window where that mouse is at. And I think that's why we did this. So now we can see what, oh gosh, autocomplete. How's it gonna do? It's not gonna do like super well. This looks useful, the display bounds. It's not just one of my first, it's literally the first time I've had more than just testers. And I guess we did do a test last week and maybe 20 some people showed up. But I think I did everything wrong. I started it and I just ended it at the end. I like hung up at the end, and Farron was like, "Did you just quit? Your computer die?" I'm like, "No, I don't know what I'm doing." So now we have the position of this monitor, and I'm hoping that we can just use that math to see if, let's see how good autocomplete is. Oh my gosh, I love it when the chat stuff works. But I'm a pedant and I gotta read it because I don't trust it. So if my mouse X is between the bounds of that monitor and on the Y, then this is the display that I want. That looks pretty cool. So now that I have the display, which one of these lovely methods? Maybe it's in this thing. Maybe when I create the window, I can just tell it where to go. This huge font has been kind of fun. So we don't want it to be centered. We actually want this to be full screen and kind of take over everything. Oh, this is the branding. This is the window that you'll see in the task manager, so we got to get that right. Oh, these are just fake things. So we need to get that, but we don't have that. We didn't actually get the bounds. We have it, but we didn't remember it. Yeah, let's just call it again. And what is display bounds type? It's a rect, one of these things. What am I working on? So I'm working on a plugin. So thanks for the chat, Chris. LaunchBox has plugins. I'm making a plugin that when you load certain games, it doesn't work on purpose and is going to require you to blow into your microphone to get them to work. It's silly. I honestly don't know if anybody would ever use it, but it'll be there, and I might release it. We'll see, so that it's more immersive. So your games don't always just work like emulators tend to do. Okay. And we do have some code tightening things we can do to get that. So now we have the bounds of what we want this window to be. So we want our X to just be the X of the window. And we want our Y to be the Y of the window. So we'll get these, and we want the width to be the width of the window. Look how easy they make this. Do I dare? I have the escape, so the... What am I waiting for? If type equals quit. I think I need to also wait for some kind of keystroke so that I can add a... Oh my gosh, autocomplete. If the keystroke is escape, I guess we can see if that works. Of course it doesn't. Nothing works. Cannot use local variable window before it is declared. That would be a problem. Oh, look at that. Oh, that wasn't a thing we could use, so we just get rid of that. But we still need the variable. It's still opened on monitor 1. Oh, but my mouse is probably over there. Let's try this again. Mouse is over here. Nope, still over there. Da, 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 da. Might need to... Can I rate for the console? Does that work? No, it's a Windows app. Of course it doesn't. Let's switch this back to just an exe for the time being. It should still work. We should get mouses on display 0, which is not true at all. If x is between, if it's greater than x and it's less than x plus width, it should work. Oh, I saw this window open. Yes, the tactical field blowing in the cart. I probably won't demo that on air. I don't know how annoying that would be, blowing in the mic. Maybe I'll just mute myself. I think it will still work. But we need to print why these values don't work. Look at you. Oh, I need to put that at the top. Well, let's get rid of you, put you. So display 0 is that, and it's finding 0. There's no chance that, oh, I bet you my mouse is pulling it from, oh, yeah. There's like a global something here. Yes. Hey, we got a black screen. Let's praise the giant black screen. So we have SDL drawing a window, which is what we want. Hopefully I can draw some kind of image or something on the screen to be like, hey, you need to blow. And every time I hit save now, it's going to run that, which is fine. All right, so we have a thing. And again, I'm just coding this sort of all in one file. I'm not going to try to make it super cleany. We will tidy it. If this was something I was going to push out, I'd tidy up the code a little bit later. But the way that I like to code personally is let's just get something to work and then move it later instead of trying to be over architect things up front. Instead of trying to approach a new problem, something that I'm not super familiar with a solution in mind, I'm just going to iterate and make things work as it works. We could flash it from black to white. Yeah, we could strobe and cause actual epileptic seizures on stream. I wonder if Twitch would put up a warning for me. Okay, so what's my goal here? So now that I have that, I think we could see what can we draw, about like what can we draw on this window that we've now created, and we have to do all of that inside of our message pump. So this is very similar to old school Windows programming, which is kind of what we're doing, or game development. We have this loop, which is our whole application, and every time it goes through, we get to do something. And what we want to do is oh, and this did work. I think this worked, the escape key. What we want to do is draw something. Maybe we'll start with drawing something. Or we can start listening for audio. I think the visuals will be more fun. Let's add some stuff so we can fake blowing. And yeah, so when the space key is pressed, we're going to be blowing. And when it's released, we're not going to be blowing. So I don't have to actually blow on your faces. We put the microphone inside the 3D printed cart. You hardware people out there, you 3D printer people out there, get on that. That's actually kind of a fun idea. What do we not like here? That princess cannot be removed. What are you talking about? I don't believe you've done it. Stop blowing. Let's just see if we can. Oh, it expected this tiny little font. That makes it a little bigger. Or giant little font, I guess. Invalid expression term else. Oh, I don't know how to type code. Rule of thumb. Learn to code before you code. Hey, we got a black screen, and I'm gonna hold, we can't see it because I made it too big, and we're gonna let go of the space bar and escape, and hopefully we were blowing, and then we stop blowing. Perfect. Let's make this window just a little bit shorter for purposes of seeing this. Let's minus, I don't know, a couple hundred pixels and see. Okay, so we can still see our stuff down here, so I'm gonna hold space. We're blowing a lot, and we're gonna let go. So that works. Now we just have to make that handle audio, which hopefully isn't too bad. I have my trusty documentation over here. Easy as that. Yeah, we're done. Almost. So I think, how do I want to do this? I'm not used to typing all this in Visual Studio Code, so I'm a little bit awkward, but I think I'm going to create one method, just so I don't have everything in one giant thing on before game launching. No, I would like to, is blowing. This is the important thing. We need to use SDL to detect making noise in the microphone. Obviously I can't, it's not going to use like AI, and it's not going to know blowing. It's really just going to be like, is it loud enough? I think that's going to be the easiest for us. And yeah, this should be interesting. The little tutorial guide thing I have over here is suggesting that I need to have an audio device. So we're gonna have to get an audio device somehow. And it looks like it wants to be an unsigned integer. Okay, so now, oh, I need to stop. I need to turn this off and maybe just make it a .NET watch on build so it doesn't load that every time. Okay, perfect. So what I'm reading over here is this method will return how much data it has we're going to be asking it to queue up audio, and this is going to tell us how much data we have. So uint bytes available, and then we're hopefully going to be able to read that in chunks. So we'll do chunks in nice little 4K increments, pretty standard for reading I/O, and we'll have a place for that. I'm hoping, because the guide I'm reading is sort of C based, it's not C sharp. So I'm hoping that the translation between managed code like this and unmanaged code inside of SDL isn't too much. But if this number, which would again be from the audio device, like, hey, I have data. If that's greater than our buffer size, so once we've read enough, we want to wait until we get 4 kilobytes, 4 kilobytes, then we want to do something. And in there, we'll be able to detect if there's noise and return true. And then we'll know if it's blowing. So the method I need to call is SDL DQ audio. So this is going to be, and it's got all this. This is the translation between managed. This is a managed array of bytes, and this is an unmanaged array of bytes. So we need to marshal it. I did play with this a little bit off camera, just because I was a little worried that this part would be confusing. Unsafe, does that even mean anything? So yeah, so this is going to put memory in a very specific spot in memory, and this is going to allow me to read from that location, I think. No. Oh, we're telling SDL about our pinned array. So .NET puts it in a spot. We can tell SDL where in our memory bank that is at. And in theory, I have data, I guess. We'll see. We'll see. But what do we do with this data? I think we can go through our buffer. I'm very old school, you can tell by putting the pluses in the front. Bonus points, if someone can tell me what this versus this, why I would use one versus the other. I would use prettier and linters normally. I didn't set this one up to have that because I wanted you all to see me struggle, or I forgot to do it. And I normally don't code in Visual Studio Code. I normally use just Visual Studio Full for this, but I thought this editor is a lot simpler and easier to share. But yeah, I know that there's some linters that we should probably use so you don't see me fumbling around with this. All right, so if this is an array of bytes, which is an 8-bit number. We need to see, I think that's just like, it's like on the spectrum, it'll go positive or negative numbers depending on sound waves, is what I'm reading. And so we will probably want some kind of threshold of something. I don't know what these numbers are. We'll find out. But I don't think I can just compare this. I think I need to convert it to this. So this would be our sample. So now we have this in a format that makes sense. And so if this number, I think, is bigger than our threshold, yeah, Copilot's helping me out, then we have noise. And so it's going to read 4K of audio. And if any of the bytes are loud, then we have audio. I wonder if we should do it sooner. This would allow it to leave sooner, leave the method sooner, but it would also respond to just a very, very small number. But we can add that later. So we may add a to-do to have more samples above threshold. So now all that's left is to figure out how to get this thing and audio. I'm not actually using this. Not actually using this. I need it to be this. I think that's right. Good. It compiles. Oh, but this is a noise. This is noise, so we can't do this. We need to compare it with that. Just if it's above or below the wave threshold. I don't know what number makes sense there, but we'll play around. I assume the higher, the less sensitive, and for your purposes, maybe we'll keep it pretty low, so I don't have to make a lot of noise to make it work. But now, how do we get an audio device? How do we get an audio device? Easy. Wow, okay. So back up in our program, all the way at the top where we're doing all this other stuff, maybe right after we get the window, there is an SDL, open audio device. Nice and easy. And it wants null. And in the world of managed to unmanaged code, that means this. And something I learned recently, diving into this, nint is a data type. We're all familiar with int, and we're all familiar with long, I can't type, and we're all familiar with short, and uint, and probably ulong, and all those things. But nint is a new one, and it stands for a native integer. And so I don't really have a lot of flexibility where this is running because I'm on a specific 64-bit machine, and so this would represent a pointer to a memory space. Didn't know that was a data type. But int pointer 0 equals 0, or equals null, even though it says 0, because they like to confuse us. We need to tell it, what are our, is capture, definitely a capture, we're not trying to play audio. And we have something desired and something obtained. I assume we're asking for something specific and we're gonna get the thing back. And allow changes? What is that? What does that do? I don't know. We'll just assume we don't need it. So what is a desired and an audio? It is, or obtained, it is of type SDL audio spec. And we're gonna ask for something specific, and so we're going to, oops, not that. We're going to new SDL audio spec. I agree, Mad Max. VS Code is, it replaced Notepad for me for the longest of time. I'm a habitual start, run, Notepad, type some notes guy. I can't not do that. That's where I think. If I'm on a call or if I'm talking to somebody, I have a bit of sort of all over the place brain, undiagnosed ADHD, something, right? So I a little scatterbrained. And so Notepad is the only reason I can survive in today's world. But more and more, I've been replacing it with code because I love Markdown, the syntax Markdown for typing of notes. And it has a nice previewer, and I can obviously bold and stuff. But then they went and updated Notepad to have tabs recently. And so now but I can't do all the bolding and italics, but it has the tabs, which is really useful. So now I'm stuff Notepad++. I like on every server that I have to manage, I use Notepad++ just because it's fast and small, and code is kind of big and bloated. But on my machine, I don't have Notepad++ anywhere. But back in college days, which was late 90s, early noughts for me, I created websites, and I was one of those people that had the proudly created in Notepad little icon at the very, very bottom, because why not? All right, so we are just creating what we are desiring. We are desiring something. I am told by the internet that I am desiring a frequency of 44100. I don't know what that number means. Obviously it means frequency, but I don't know what the options are there. And I am requesting 16, not that. That's for advanced users that I'm not. Start run Notepad is my go-to. It's just so habitual. Though if you're on Windows, which presumably all of you are, or you have the Android, but Windows has power tools. I don't know if you should get it. Like it's a must-have for me. So this is Power Toys, and it's freely available. It's built by devs at Microsoft and some community contributions. It's all open source, but it has just a whole host of really useful tools that I use all the time. Like if I hold shift, I can like drag and drop this on different boxes on the thing. I know it sort of replaces the snap thing, but you can control what these boxes look like more easily. It will strip formatting. You can edit your host file. You can get your it's just this is the thing. I install this almost immediately, and then second to that, other than editors, DevToys is a really fun tool for little programming things. It all runs locally, so nothing gets sent up to any servers anywhere. And so for quick little, hey, I need to format a JSON file and blah, blah, this is a really, really good tool for that as well. Funny story about this one is it's also written using Blazor. For those of you who were at the beginning of the stream, we talked about the celebration page being written in Blazor. Blazor can be used for desktop applications, similar to how you can write using like code. Visual Studio Code is a web-based application. This is a web-based application using Blazor. And so it's kind of inspiration for us to think about, could that be something we use? All right, but yeah, PowerToys, I don't care what else you install on your computer. Other than LaunchBox, you have to have PowerToys. Even if you're not a Power user, I think some of the features are just really brilliant. My favorite one is Alt Space. Opens up this little guy. So I can do a little math real quick. I can open up specific apps like VS Code. I got to call it the right thing. It's like Spotlight for Mac users, and it's really, really good. All right, so we were back to this. Channels, we don't need anything fancy. And we were talking about doing this in 4K. 4 kilobytes, not 4K. I'm on a 4K monitor, which is a lot more bytes than 4,000. And obtained is where data is going to go, so we don't have to define it. We just want one. Oh, that's confusing. We are an hour and a half into this, and I think we're on the way. We haven't done anything visual yet, but I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay. I was aiming for like a 2-hour thing, but we'll see. We'll see. This is my job, so I can stick around as long as I need to get this done. Why do they not like this? Because they are why? Oh, they're out, obviously. So we have to allow it to update them. LaunchBox, Plex, PowerToys, all you need. Well, don't forget about Notepad++ or Code or Cursor or Sublime or Vim or whatever it is your text editor of choice is. I do like the color picker. For when I'm not zoomed in so much, the double control to allow me to like find my mouse is a lot of fun. There's just so many cool things in PowerToys. So put that on your to-do list. And it doesn't like this one because it's not by ref, it's an out. Got it, I'm not passing anything in, it's by out. So in theory, we have an audio device. I don't have a lot of confidence that I do. We'll maybe put a little if audio device ID, I think 0, yeah. It doesn't do something, it'll return a 0. And I love autocomplete for those kinds of error messages. Plex for. I'm not a Plex user. I honestly don't watch a lot of media, unfortunately, but it's a media center that can pull, I think, commercially available options as well as stuff off of a local storage, like an NAS or something. Jellyfin is like an open source alternative that's free. But Plex is a really, really good tool. But behind the scenes, they all do the same thing. They're LaunchBox for videos and movies and TV shows. I think some people have used LaunchBox for video curation too, but I think it's just a lot more work because it doesn't auto scrape anything. And oddly enough, I'm told, according to this article, that once I have opened the audio device, I need to tell it to start listening. But the way that you do that is you pause it. But I think we're unpausing it. I think this is saying unpause it. And so now we can listen on that. Let me just check to make sure there's not any clean up things that we should do at the end here, because again, we're operating at a lower level, and we have to close the audio device. All right, so we have that. Let's just see if we get this error message. I'm gonna close this and put ourselves back into this mode. We did not get an error, so that's great. And we can still do our spacebar below, which is working. And again, for those joining in now, we're going to be literally blowing into a microphone to start games, and nothing else. I'm wearing a shirt that has Kirby on it, and so we're not going to be sucking. We're going to be blowing, but I suspect they make a similar noise as far as the microphone is concerned. Oh, Joe, is that one of your plugins that can scrape movie data? Because I might consider that, because we don't have like a huge library in-house. I have a huge collection of discs that I need to rip, but that's just a project, and I'm not even sure I have a computer that has a CD CD drive in it anymore. But maybe I have a USB one. Well, excellent, Joe. Joe is the plugin king on the community. He's created a lot of them. We got to highlight one of yours earlier with the how long to beat thing, using some undocumented API that we won't tell them about. Yeah, and I haven't ever gotten rid of a computer. I just hide them. So it's possible that if I go into my garage and go into the corner and find some that don't have mice living in them, I could find one with a CD drive. But they're all probably using old, not SATA ports. I forgot what they were called before SATA, IDE. I don't know if I could use it in my current computer. All right, so we have an audio. We have the function that is going to listen for blowing. I guess we could see if that works now. I think we just do that in our loop here. So we're listening for the app to close. We know to close. We're listening for keystrokes. I think we can also just check for is noise. What did we call it? Oh, is blowing. Is blowing. And we're going to pass in this audio device that we have. And we will add a nice little output. But we're going to say is really blowing. Let's see. Okay, it's really blowing a lot, and I don't know if that's my mic. Let me just check to see what is this. Okay, it's a little sensitive, so I think that 500 is we're picking up some background noise. Let's try 1,000 again. I have no idea what these numbers mean. All right, we're not blowing anymore. 1,000's too big. Oh, 1,000 maybe. I can't tell. No. It kind of works. It's kind of really blowing, but I don't know what this number should be. But it picked up twice. Why did it pick up twice? But not any other time. It stopped picking it up. Oh, I closed the app. No, it's still here. Oh, it didn't have focus. Oh, okay. It only listens when it's focusing. I can't tell. We need to print a nice little number so we can see counter. Oh, Joe, you're modest. You are the expert. And a couple? Like what, a couple hundred? It is really blowing. And I just want to see this number out here just so that I can... Okay. As long as... Oh, it's listening to my mouse? That is strange. Why is it only listening to my mouse? Like it only was listening while I moved my mouse. That's strange. What am I missing in my documentation here? Nope, that's not the documentation. I closed it. Oh. It's in the wrong loop. That was an event-based loop, not our application loop. Okay, it's still listening. It's still hearing a lot of noise. And I don't know if that's the threshold or this thing is just not working. What if I crank that up to like 5,000? It's still, all right, so this thing is just always returning true. Nice to know. Sample greater than threshold. Why? Interesting, because these are 8 bits, we have to actually jump through 2 at a time, it looks like. And that's why we're having to do this to convert 8 to 16. Okay. Hey, it is, it's listening. It's working. Silence. Silence is golden. All right, excellent. I'm excited. We now can detect sound, which we can pretend is a blow. I know, exciting. It's the stupidest things that we developers get excited about. Blowing is one of them now. Okay, we're probably dumping memory all over the place, but we have an exe that while it's running can listen for blowing and do something about it. And we also have our spacebar here that can pretend to blow. So now we need to do something with that knowledge. So I'm gonna have real blowing. I can't believe we're calling it. Oh, actually, we're calling it huff and puff. It should be real puffing. I don't know. That's not better. Too much Dragon Quest recently to talk about puffing. So we'll go back to blowing. A little bit safer for me. So we're gonna have 2 blowings. We're gonna have a real and a fake. And the fake is going to be controlled by our spacebar. And so when the spacebar goes down, it's going to fake a blow. And our real one is going to be controlled by this neat little method that we have here, real blowing. So now we know when it's really blowing. And my thought was what we could do with this knowledge is, because we're talking about blowing, is to show off some kind of animation, like a GIF or something that would allow us to kind of watch it. And so as you blow, the animation goes forward. I thought that'd be fun. And so I found this on the internet. Probably copyright violation. I stole off a tenner, but nobody tell. So this is our animation. I don't know who this guy is, but he's doing a great job. And we're going to hopefully take the frames of this GIF to only progress as as we make noise or as we do our fake thing. Yeah, I know this game. I can't tell it. I don't know if anybody can tell based on this tiny little picture what game this is, but I might be willing to give you a shout out if you can guess it. Maybe Donkey Kong. I don't know. It's got bricks. I don't know if somebody can find that. That'd be really impressive based on that tiny little picture. Street Fighter 2. Let's see. If only there was a database full of games. We need box art. Brian, is this easy for me to do? All right, well, somebody find it and send me a link. I don't want to spend all time looking for that. We're already a bit into this. I guess because we are so long into this and this is taking a little longer than I'd hoped, I guess I could share the code at this point. I was going to hopefully have this big reveal at the very end of all of that, but in the interest of honoring schedules, because we are in the middle of the day for some of us, I will give you all a sneak peek right now. Once I find what was going to be the big reveal. Where did I put it? I can't find it, so nobody can win. Nobody can get the code because I can't find the thing because I'm not looking in the right spot. Okay, it's not there either. Where the hell did I put it? Somewhere. All right, well, that's too much work. I don't know where I made a version of this that has the code on it, but instead I'll do this one. This is close. And so all of the codes this week so far have been some kind of game sensitive thing. Like I think we had the honestly forgot what the last 2 days were, but they're the key combinations for different games to do different things. And this one specifically, I am curious if anybody can tell me what this is, but that is the code for those of you who are tuning in to get that, and for those of you who aren't, might as well use it if you want. Go to the celebration page and type that in. Shadowrun's a good guess. It might be a code there too, but there's what abacadabra. That's funny. There might be more than one use of the code, but it's something specific, and this girl is entirely too sweet for it to be related to her. Okay, we so no sauce gets it on the first. It's the blood dump code for Mortal Kombat. I'll try to. I don't have it set up in my OBS to share this at all times, so take note. I can load this back up later when people ask for it. But this is the code, and we'll get back to this to see if we can get it to work. Now that I moved everything around looking for a stupid code. I guess for those who don't know what the code's for, might as well. If you go to any of our websites, there's links everywhere in the celebration, and you scroll down past all this beautiful artwork and past the pictures, there's this beating heart thing. Sorry, you are creating too many entries. Try again later. I'm not sure. We're using a third-party service for the giveaway, Gleam, which is in use all over the place. It might just be confused. You could try it on a different browser, and maybe you are creating too many entries and you're trying to kind of cheat the system. I don't know. We're not in charge of this. We just set it up. But if your cookies weren't disabled, it would show you an option down here. If you haven't already entered a code this week, you can go do so in there. And again, the code is, well, now where did the file go? Oh, I put it up on this one. ABACABB. And again, I'll try to put that somewhere. Maybe I'll just rename this file and people can find it over there if they're so inclined. ABACABB. Super secret code is the secret code. All right, I'm not going to answer the question again because if somebody's playing, they can see where it's at. Thanks for the feedback, and Brand, I'm glad that it worked for you. It is a one and done thing. It is the most of the ones, though. It gives you the most chances for the win. So do appreciate everyone tuning into these streams this week. It's been a lot of fun seeing you guys show up and participate. But we're going to try to make this. So we talked about maybe showing this animation. This guy is going to be famous for all of us in the community. Here on out, we would like to, while we're in our little loop here, while we're really blowing or fake blowing, we would like to animate that GIF. And then maybe after it animates once, then we'll let the user go through. So we have a window. That is the whole reason for the window, was so we could draw on it. And what we're going to draw is this GIF. There are some just .NET libraries that we're going to hopefully use to get that image. I don't know if they come by default or if I have to install them, but we're gonna, it doesn't, oh my gosh, autocomplete. Let's go back here. So image, nothing else, image, yeah, the thing that you started. Oh my gosh, stop it. And the GIF is going to be, okay, it doesn't seem to be finding that. I think I might have to install a package from file and below. Let's see what we got ahead. I think. Oh, it's, yeah, I did this before. It's this guy. So the system.drawing.common runtime is it's Windows specific, so I am making a little bit of a not cross-platform choice here, just in the interest of getting it to work. But I think if I do this and this, then I can load the GIF, and then I can get the this type has been forwarded to assembly system.drawing. The type name image cannot be found in the namespace system.drawing. The type has been forwarded to assembly system.drawing.common. Consider adding a reference. I did. What do you call this? It didn't add it. Did I add it to the plugin instead? No. All specific writing assets. Yeah. Okay, so it worked, but it didn't work. Puff and Puff exe. Oh, it's right here. I was looking at the wrong one. Okay. I think you're drunk, Visual Studio. We're just gonna proceed and see if we can get back to our build watch here. Gippy. Well, if you've already entered one of the stream codes, tossed llama, then you are good. Can't do it again. Hopefully you got in there. If you want us to look into it, I think we have access to the entries. Just send us an email at our support address, support@unbroken software, or just click on the support thing in the forums and send us a note with your email address that you're trying, and we can see what's going on behind the scenes to make sure that you get entered, because those prizes are really great. All right, so we have our image supposedly loaded. We'll see if it actually works. And I'm pretty sure this library has this nice little autocomplete thing, frame dimension. I'm just going to go ahead and build this. It is building with some warnings, but I don't care about those. This call is reachable on all platforms because we're using Windows. I'm just going to go ahead and tell my project that I'm using Windows to get rid of that warning. There are lots of image libraries that I could look for, but again, in the interest of just getting this done, I'm going to use one that I'm a little bit more familiar with, and then we could swap this out for something that's cross-platform. Unfortunately, Microsoft has not made a cross-platform image library because all this stuff's based off of the old GDI stuff, unfortunately, and they haven't updated it yet for whatever reason. There is a pretty popular image library, Image Sharp, that I was considering using, but they have changed their licensing. They decided that open source was still right for them, but free was not. And for purposes of this stream, I didn't want to use something that had some licensing complications, because I'm hoping that once I tidy this code up, maybe I could share it out on GitHub, and then you could all have access to the Huff and Puff official plugin built live for you today. It still isn't liking this. I'm just going to close it and reopen it. Maybe it just needs to start over. No. System.drawing. Yeah. It's building, though. Image does not contain a definition for get count. Okay, whatever. Visual Studio's... Maybe I'll just close Visual Studio. Have it really start over. It's going to bother me, those red squiggles. Streaming. Hey, no more red squiggles. We'll zoom back in for those using a smaller screen. All right, where was it? So now we have this, and it's not get count, it's a get frame count. So a GIF, just like videos have frames, GIFs are simple because each frame is a full bitmap. And so we can just pull each bitmap out and draw it to the screen one by one. Instead of trying to just print the whole GIF, we're going to print the individual frames as the user is blowing. And we're going to start on, oh gosh, red anything is the bane of my existence games. I, like, on my phone and anywhere else, like, wherever those little red alert badges that show up, I I have a bit of like OCD on those. I cannot deal with them, and so I either have to turn the notifications off or deal with it. And so the idea of waiting until the end of the day to check my email and stuff like that is just not a thing for me. We have the number of frames, we have the total, we have our current positioning, which will update later as the user is blowing, and we should be good. It's probably going to go really, really fast, so this guy's going to probably get a workout here in a second. I think we can slow it down, but I am hoping that we can do a if really blowing or fake blowing. Oh gosh, auto code. Let's see what it's doing. So current count. So increment the number, mod our frame count so that we can loop over and over and over again, and pull the frame based on the count, turn it into a .NET bitmap, and get a handle to the bitmap and tell SDL about that. I like the start. It's not very friendly with respect to the memory, so let's clean up after ourselves. So we can do that, and I don't know if this is going to just work, but well, we could see what happens. Failed to restore solution. Project file. That's because I changed the name. Of course you can't find it. Look at the kitty. I got a little distracted there. All right, so we're going to get back into our Huff and Puff exe, and we're going to tell .NET to watch it with the no hot load. It's one of my favorite features about the new .NET stuff. The name surface does not exist. Oh, I didn't finish reading all the code, of course. I feel like I'm trying to do a lot all at once. Let's comment out some things and just get to a point where I can build. Oh my gosh, it added a lot of code. Any profile change? I did it. Unable to load SDL2 or one of its dependencies. Well, that was working before. Oh, because I made a new folder here. Because I changed it to be Windows. SDL. Back over here. Now let's try it. Hey, we're not trying a GIF because we're not blowing. No? Hold the space. Nothing. Oh, because we didn't actually finish it. Code works when you type it in, Josh. Code works when you type it in. Life lesson. Well, this is a surface, and then we gotta draw said surface. Split? Is that, I don't know what that word means. What are the odds that this just works? And we can thank Copilot for saving us all a bit of time. Okay, immediately crashed, of course. Attempted to read or write protected memory. That's what I thought was going to happen, was the managed memory stuff. So we shall go back to the way that I had noted down as the way that I might approach this originally. Let's get out of all this code that it created. Maybe we'll steal some of it later, but for now, I don't think we need to do anything when they're not blowing. Graduation project. What was your project? If you don't mind me asking. I did a college graduation project, code related, and I'm embarrassed to even talk about it because it was a group project. We decided to do it as a group project, and there was 3 of us, and we wanted to make a chat program. But we knew that given the time that we were going to invest in it, it was going to be a really terrible chat program. And so we called it Suck Chat. And so we had to deliver Suck Chat to our professor, and he loved it. It was great. If Basman, if the link is appropriate and it won't offend anybody, I think it's okay. Is it safe for me to click on? Oh my gosh, danger, danger. Nice. Of course, the first thing I do when people send me links they created is to see what they did. It's more interesting. Can I read this? React. Okay, so you get your React developer, and it looks nice. Good job. Do you get a grade on it? Like, how does the final project work for you? Video editing is just as hard, games. All right, back to this. I would like to draw this thing onto something, and the way the .NET gives us is a graphics object that we can draw. Oh, the autocomplete. Not what I want. I would like it to be from image, which is our frame. Our frame. And this bitmap is actually where we're going to be doing the drawing. And what was our frame? Selected frame. How do we get that out of there? Oh, I don't. I'm drawing it to this thing. And then we're drawing it. Okay, well good job, Basman. As a first project, React is a big library to have to dive into and learn. I'm more, like, if I have to choose a JavaScript framework that I'm most familiar with, other than the old things like jQuery and Knockout and those sorts of things, I'm most familiar with the Vue world, with Vue and Nuxt, and I think one of our team members who taught me everything I know about Vue is on the chat somewhere, probably lurking. So Ilya, if you're there, thank you so much for all that you do. He's the guy behind the Blazor celebration page too. All right, so now we have this bitmap, which has our frame on it, and we can hopefully do some memory bumping around to get the bitmap data, and autocomplete's going to have me do this, which seems reasonable. Let's read it real quick. We're going to take the thing, try to get it to hold itself in memory so that SDL has access to it, and then we only need it to be read-only, and this, I think, makes sense. ARGB. I think that's how the GIF would be stored. So thanks, Copilot, for that. Saved me some effort. And now we got to do some SDL stuff. We are going to have SDL lock a surface. So when we're drawing, SDL has surfaces. It has renderers, and it has textures, and we're gonna have to draw on the surface with our texture thing with a renderer, and so we gotta play through all of that. We don't have a surface yet, but we'll create that in a second. QBasic. Games, I never wrote QBasic. I only played, what the hell was that? There was a game on it. It was like Worms, like the modern day Worms, where you had to throw stuff, but it was bananas. You had to throw bananas at other people and they would explode. And so I did hack that game a little bit, but that's really my only exposure to QBasic was throwing bananas at other people. And here I am, the only experience I have with SDL is blowing. So I tend to choose interesting things. All right, so we have our surface. Once we have our surface that is locked, ready for dealing with it, and we're going to go old school and just move bits from our bitmap into that surface. And we back to needing to marshal. Pointer, I think this is, yeah, pointer to structure. Because it's stored in a certain format, we need to sort of translate it into something that SDL is familiar with, which is an SDL surface. So now we can copy onto the surface, into its pixel area, the locked bitmap. And this is where it gets into stuff that I don't really understand, but there's this scan 0 thing, and It's getting too long to see it all. And then the next thing is memcopy is asking for the length, which again, stride. I could Google this. I don't know what it means. But you don't need to always understand it. Oh, that is an interesting thing. Yes, QBasic is Gorillas. Does anybody else remember that Gorilla game? Is that what it was called? Just Gorillas? I can't remember it at all. I could probably still hear the noise. And I remember it was bananas. And then we can tell .NET we're done. So backwards. We BMP unlock bump data. Hillary the Bull. I haven't thought of that in a long time. I visited Jason of LaunchBox fame a few months ago, and we played Worms, and he is not good at it. So if you ever see him, remind him how terribly I beat him on Worms. And so I suspect with Gorillas or Artillery, I'd probably do the same. So we had to switch over to some games that he was good at in order to proceed. Pretty much everything else. He's much more of a gamer than I. I like games. I like to play them. I enjoy them. But coding is where I tend to have a lot of my fun time. So we put, and we'll get the surface in a second, but we put the data memory of this bitmap into SDL so that it can basically copy it from .NET's managed area into its own memory base. And then now we have to ultimately do something with it. And so we'll create a texture. Again, we'll do that in a bit. And honestly, I'm just going to copy this stuff because it's very similar. We're going to update the texture with this surface, or update the surface with this texture. And we get to tell it how big. And the 4, I'm pretty sure, is because of the bits, how they're arranged. It's 4 bits, imagery color, or not 4 bits, but it's pixels times 4 for the size of the structure with these images. And I think that would allow us to draw it. I don't think we're going to use any of your stuff, Copilot, so let's clean all that up. And then we have to actually draw it. So outside of our blowing thing, we need to, every frame, do some stuff. We need to clear the renderer, and this is stuff we have to do every time just so that it manages everything correctly. It's still very efficient. And we're going to draw our texture when it's set. And so this means every frame of the app, we're going to draw the last frame of the GIF, which we're only going to update when they're blowing. And do it. Right. Languages like .NET or Windows Forms and those sorts of frameworks do make a lot of this a lot easier. I have an extra parenthesis somewhere. Wow. I don't want that there. I want this here. Okay, perfect. So now we just need a renderer, a texture, and a surface. I might as well clean them up first. We're going to destroy the renderer. And we got to clean up the surface. And the texture. And Again, I have reference over on my other monitor. You can't see it. It's a C-based application that's got some of this stuff. And I'm just translating as best I can. We're gonna have this texture. I don't know if the order makes sense. But it's all cleanup. It doesn't really matter. They're not really tied to each other. And let's create them. So all the way back at the top, outside of our loop. Maybe right after we get this GIF, we are going to have to get our surface, which is, try your autocomplete maybe? Oop. We get a surface that's as big as the GIF. That is, what's this? 32-bit depth and a bunch of zeros by default. And then we need the texture. I don't think I wanted that. Not how they did it over here. And this is, we gotta match the pixel format, which is, I guess, RGB, 8 bits. And extra access streaming, I think is what we want. And then the width and the height of the GIF. Yeah, so I think we are good. Sorry for mumbling there, talking to myself, but I do that normally. I code for me. So do we have, like, who in the chat is would call yourself a programmer or a developer or a hacker or any of the terms that imply that you type code onto screen and make screens do things? As we've talked, I've been coding since I was a tiny little person, about 6, 7, 8, around there when we had the Commodore. When I finally figured out the Commodore, I started coding, but I wouldn't consider myself a coder till probably high school time. A DBA. I also like to act as a DBA sometimes. Really cool thing. It has nothing to do with the stream, but DBA, you reminded me of this. So even if you don't, oh, I can't spell Postgres. So Postgres is a database server, and the group at Supabase, which is like an online cloud-based Postgres site, they created this chat-based database engine. Like I could be like, create me a database to store high scores for Tapper. And it's like, oh, it only needs one table. Be like, oh, but I need multiple games. And it's like, okay, we'll add a games. And I'd be like, oh, those games are categorized by genre, platform, developer, and have images. I don't know. And you could just like talk to a database designer. And it's good. It's like not great. I would still want to review everything. But it's so much fun. It's brand new. I'm sure it'll come better, but the whole AI world is really given us a lot to play with. So we need a renderer now. Hey, I see our Blazer Fighter in chat. So Ilya there again created the celebration page. So shout out to him for fighting Blazer to get that to work. And yep, C64 Ti, same with me. That's where I first learned coding. Fortran. I had a book once that held up a monitor that a professor gave me. So that's my experience with Fortran. And your dad's a coder, but doesn't know how to use a computer. Like maybe the computers that like those big room-sized computers like RPG and AS400s and stuff maybe. 14-year C# developer. I've been doing C# development since .NET 1, Beta 1, Beta 2, somewhere around there. I was in college. I remember being in college, and I had just written a whole big website using ASP, and decided to rewrite it using this new thing that Microsoft was creating, and it was .NET, and it was still in beta, and Yeah, I love it. So 14 years, great. Full-time out of a WPF project. So you should feel right at home inside of LaunchBox. Games were always out of date. Me and Ellie were just talking about this yesterday. So he is and sorry to put you in the highlight here, but you volunteered. Um, he has never done Blazor before. This was his first project, and he was just reminiscing yesterday about how hard something that should be simple was, and it's just because we're still trying to figure things out. And yeah, I think just everything is hard. Like I'm struggling today because I don't do SDL ever. It's just the world moves so fast, and always gives us something new to figure out that we kind of have to always feel like we don't know what we're doing. Put on a good show, at least. So I have my renderer, I have my texture, I have all of these things. I'm supposedly drawing to this thing. Do I dare run it? I'm scared. Okay, so we didn't draw anything, but it paused. I'm talking, but it's not doing anything. So clearly not working. So let's add some some outputs here, because I don't know. Let's just see if we're drawing anything here. And appreciate those sticking around for this stream. I'm just gonna keep doing this until it works. So we're getting all the here's. So something about this drawing isn't doing what we want. Definitely part of the fun. Hey DJ. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Living the programmer's dream right now. I got something that should work but doesn't, and no idea why. I feel like I have no clue. Again, this is all brand new to me. We're definitely loading the bitmap, and we're definitely drawing frames. Let's make sure that we're drawing through these, like we're getting a frame number. I think I might have done this already once, but if we do this, run it, and we're getting the frames. I don't know how many frames this GIF is, but I guess we'll, 22 frames. Okay. I'm an image. We're getting, which are we actually drawing the GIF? I think I'm not actually getting the GIF. I think I'm drawing the image onto itself. So I think I need to get the frame somehow. Get the frame. What am I missing? I want to get it out of the GIF. There's this. This is the draw, right? I'm drawing the GIF. And because GIFs are frame-based, this will pull the currently selected frame, and I'm hopeful that, oh my gosh, it's so zoomed in. I don't know what we're looking at. Is that his t-shirt? I'm just gonna hold space. That's super fast, and it's super zoomed in. But we have a visual. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. Now we just have to make it not enormous. Why is it enormous? Do I need to resize it? I should be drawing the image on this bitmap, which is the size of the GIF, and then I'm telling SDL, please draw said thing. But do I need to like size it? I don't think so. It should be smart. It should be smart. It's a mega GIF. I think it was his shoulder, I think. Can I tell which part of the image it was? Maybe that'll help. Oh, it's just the top left corner. So we're getting like this many pixels enormously. Why? See it again. Does SDL know how big to make it? What is WPF? It's a curse and a blessing. It's saving grace and a challenge all at the same time. It's a Microsoft-based UI engine built specifically for Windows. Windows Presentation Foundation or Framework, I don't remember what the letters stand for. And it allows one to create UIs in a markup-based language that we all like to call XAML. We use it at LaunchBox for Big Box, and for LaunchBox for Android. There is a framework, Xamarin, that we've been using, and there's a newer alternative called Maui that allows us to use WPF on Android and iOS if that were ever a thing, and Mac. The unfortunate thing, and we're all very sad about this, is that that's all. There's no other operating systems on that list of supported ones. Microsoft claims that Linux doesn't have a UI, so there's no real reason to do it, but obviously it has one. So that's unfortunate, because that would be really nice. But yeah, it's a presentation framework. It's like HTML, but for Windows. I am struggling to think of why this thing would be absolutely, positively enormous. What do I try? We are drawing this bitmap. Could we just not be drawing enough of it? I could. This is a terrible idea. Oh my gosh, I'm going to create a blowed up bitmap. Why not? I will kill the application right after this call, just so I don't create a million files. But let's, what did I call it? Yeah, should quit. So we'll do it once, run it, draw it. Oh gosh, we created an image and it's just its shoulder. Okay, so the image that we're drawing from here is just wrong. Okay. Let's see what the dimensions are. Thanks to GIF images. That's just wrong. Oh, that's the size of the image. Okay, so we're not scaling this to the right thing. I think I'm just complicating it. I think I overcomplicated it. What are my choices here? I just want to draw the image just there. So maybe if I get rid of the width and the height, I think it should be as simple as this. And again, this is going to be going super fast, but if I hold space, oh my god, I don't know what that looks like on the stream. If I talk, it's a lot slower because it's listening. But if I stop talking, then that's cool. We got a thing. Really fast when I hold the space. But I don't really want to fight adding a delay right now. So we have a thing. It loads this, and that's a feature. You gotta blow harder. Okay, so now the expectation was that you would blow, maybe the whole animation would play, and then it would be done. So now we want to detect that. So we're doing like a safety check here just to make sure that we don't try to draw a frame that's too many. But I think if we just say current count is, if it's greater than the frame count, then we should exit. It just works. Everything always does exactly what we tell them to. All right, so it's listening to my voice, and at the end of the animation, it doesn't do anything useful. Okay, space. Is so fast. Should quit. So current count is never bigger than frame count. Which, that doesn't make any sense. Should quit. This should be the easy part. Current count. Oh, geez, I'm an idiot. The $sign goes here. Wrong language, Josh. One downside of being a polyglot is you sometimes write the wrong language. Okay. So the current count actively reset. Oh, because I'm stupid doing this. Okay, I am an idiot. So we need to know when this actually mods. I think if I just break this into 2 steps, then I can. Not ideal, but it'll work. If current count is greater than frame count, then could quit equals true, but we still need this just in case. Oh, actually, we could just set, we don't need the mod anymore. We can fake our own mod. So current count equals 0. Start it over, just in case we go past it. Oh, and I got this one duplicatively. Save. Oh, that's so fast. All right, don't hold space this time, Josh. Okay. All right. What's the verdict? Do you think it's gonna work? I think it worked. Okay, so it's perfect. So now we have an application. It's just a normal .exe that if we were to open up Windows Explorer and navigate to this lovely folder and hit go on the exe, it does the thing. Super fast because I held space there. Actually, it's not drawing the image here. Oh, because there's no image here. So let's put our GIF. Let's delete this guy. Let's put this into this folder, just to prove, because this is where we're going to deploy. Okay, I think it worked. All right, I need to talk until this is done, so it can close. We're getting errors. I didn't see the errors. What are my errors? Why are we failing? Oh my gosh, if I have to do this every time, talk about terrible debugging. All right, so I got, oh, don't close on me. Let's load it from here. So we got to go into our folder so we can see the error message, because I don't know what it is. Puff and puff. .exe. Bug. Matt. And huff and puff. It crashes right there with a generic error because we're trying line 127. Let's start there. Trying to, but only at the end, so it doesn't like this. Does it not start at 0? Or, oh, it's off by winners. It's gotta be that. All right, so we did that. Let's try it again. Oh, I didn't build it. All right, nowhere. Perfect. Okay, so now we have an exe that we can launch from anywhere, and it loads. And so I'm going to take this. I think these are all the files that I need to make it work. So if I take those and I go into my LaunchBox folder, because I'm building this as an exe and I don't really want LaunchBox to embed it inside of its coding, I'm going to call it a third-party application. And so we'll puff and puff. Should make this a premium feature. So you have to have a license to get it. All right, so we have this in here. So now all we have to do is modify our plugin to call this application and for cartridge-based systems. So let's see. And a reminder, if you happen to be paying attention and you haven't cut it before, we do have the secret code for the drawing. It is ABACABB, and it's right here, pseudo perpetually. All right, so now we just write normal.net, and we're going to spawn a new process. And look at how fancy it was here. But we need to find it. So we're going to rely on .NET to tell us where we're currently at, and then we're going to add the path from there. So that should be the root, and so we're going to add from there third party, and from there huff and puff, and from there huff. Actually, I want that separately so that we can set our working directory to be that. And here, I'm going to do another path.combine on path with this exe. Oh, and we should go back to this to get rid of the command prompty thing, make that again. Oh, we're not actually using the real blowing. How are we not using that? Oh, we're not using the starting. Sorry. So back to the plugin. So we're going to create one of these, but we need to tell .NET how to load one of those. And then we're going to start the process equals new process with all that. And we'll process.start and then process.wait or exit. So in theory, we will run our code and it will put itself into, it'll run this exe, which I need to update because I changed build style. It'll run our exe and you'll have to blow, and then it will close, allowing the user to proceed. And it should only do this on, if I spelled everything correctly, Nintendo Entertainment System. So we will go back to our plugin project. And then we'll ask .NET to build it, which should put the file into our plugins folder. So let's take a look at that. If we go back to our LaunchBox, plugins, Huff and Puff, we have a DLL. And again, these older style legacy, not legacy, they're still quite viable. These plugin styles that don't go through the plugin manager, all you need is this. And because this plugin is inheriting from iGame launching plugin, then it should just work. Famous last words. So I'm going to load my LaunchBox. Dumb question. Well, we'll see. The joke that I like to tell people when they say, hey, I have a dumb question, is dumb questions deserve dumb answers. So if I don't answer with a dumb answer, then the question was not dumb. But will there ever be an option within PS3 for it to mount the ISO and find the eboot file? Or is that too complicated since the location differs a bit game to game? A little off topic for what I'm talking about here. Maybe Farron, if you could address that in the chat, that'd be super helpful. But appreciate that you're a big fan of LB and BB. That's why we're all here. Great to hear. So we have the plugin. I think we have the plugin. It should work, but let's try to not have it happen. So I'm going to load up this Final Fight, my first love, Jessica, back in the 90s. So we didn't get anything happen, right? It just loaded the game as we would expect, and I'm really tempted to play a little bit just because it's one of the first side-scroller style games that I really got into as a kid. Let's try a Nintendo game and cross our fingers. Okay, so we got our over guy. All right, and okay, that worked. It's done. It's not perfect. We have to finish clipping off the thing at the bottom, but Nintendo games now in my build of LaunchBox require me to blow in it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna mute my mic real quick in OBS, and I'm gonna do a blow just to see how it feels. Okay, that was fun. That was fun. So it should just work. We can certainly do a lot of tidying up. Coding is not done when things work. It's done when everything's nice and tidy. And while this is pretty tidy, there's a lot of room for improvement on the other project. But it worked. Important work is done for sure. Oh my gosh, that was fun. I did really enjoy this. I got to learn a few new technologies. Obviously, I'm super comfortable with .NET, super comfortable with a lot of things that we had going on here, but I had never really touched SDL, and it's a library that we have been meaning to look more into because it handles a number of things really well. And as I said before, it is cross-platform, so we could take advantage of it in a variety of places. As a library, it obviously can do drawing and audio, as we saw here, but it can handle like game controllers and other media. It might even pose some opportunities for integration with like MPEG for video playback instead of VLC, and yada yada yada. There's a lot of things that we can take advantage of now that we have a little bit of exposure here. But that's that. I'll figure out some way to make this available. Maybe I'll tidy up the code and post it in the forums like everyone else is supposed to, and people can have some fun with it. Maybe allow some settings so that you can choose which GIF you want to play, and so on and so forth. But I'm excited to have gotten this far, and it only took me 40 minutes longer than I expected to, but I think I talked a lot more at the beginning. But if you ever trust a developer at how long something is going to take, you'll be wrong, and they'll be wrong, and it will take at least 40 minutes longer, at least in this case. I can stick around and chat if anybody has anything, but let's see that one more time. And actually, let's test it from Big Box, because it should still work from there, because those same plugins all just carry over there automatically. So I'm going to load up Big Box with my 4 enormous game choices, and let's just prove the case where it doesn't do it. We're going to load up the Game Boy game. Oh, I messed that up. All right, let's load up some Flat Out then. Again, a disk-based system, no requirements for blowing needed here, and perfect. I was able to load that up. That's a long intro, and we'll get to our Nintendo game, and even through Big Box, I have to talk into my mic to get it to play. Maybe. Always blow your discs. Maybe keep that private. I don't know if that's something I'd share. Maybe we'll make a version of this where you have to like do the old like disc doctor cleaning of the disc, because you've got fingerprints all over it. I don't know what the virtual equivalent of cleaning off fingerprints is, but we could, rotate the mouse. You have to spin it, like get it going, or like pull out a hair from the laser that got stuck inside the drive. There's lots of things that we might be able to do with all the different media types. So maybe that'll be an exercise for the community to think of different annoying ways that we could make gaming more immersive. But I guess if you go to the effort of putting scan lines and shaders and bezels and all the things to make it immersive, why not have a little blowing and cleaning too? All right, well, I am all talked out. I think I'm out of water almost too. I do genuinely appreciate everyone dropping in. Let me load up that code just for the VOD afterwards. So if you're listening in after the fact, until we remember to turn it off, which is usually around the morning time, maybe morning here in the States at least, this code should be active until basically the end of the day today, August 28th. and the code is ABACABB, and that will get you an entry into one of those lovely prizes. All right, well, thanks everyone. I'm going to shut this all off, and I'll remember to do the closing scene thing. But again, appreciate all of you for everything that you do for us. We wouldn't be here without all of your support, and hope you're able to enjoy the remaining festivities and activities. Stay tuned tomorrow. We have a stream where Farron, who's been managing the chat for me, is going to be doing a dive into creating a theme that honors the Discovery Center, which should be really exciting. There aren't a lot of themes that do the Discovery Center theming, and so that'll be a good exposure for theme developers and people who want to get into it. And then again on Friday, it's going to be a collection of the team hanging out, playing some games, chatting, responding to the AMAs that you can post in the forums, and anything that comes up in the meantime. And then, of course, we have these more offline offline events that you can take advantage of. And then, of course, I'm sitting here today as well as everyone else on the team because we're able to have a successful business behind all of this fun stuff. And so if you haven't had a chance to take advantage of the discounts, these are probably some of the best discounts you'll get this year for some time. So please take advantage of this. It applies to all of the licensing from Windows to Android, premium, regular annual licenses to forever, gifting, upgrades, renewals, the whole thing. They're all very heavily discounted for this week only. So don't delay if you've been thinking about it and you're on the fence. We have many users who live and die by the product, so hopefully you can get that too. But with that, I am out. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll talk soon.